problem with. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. No, come find me. No, come find me. Listen to the words. Come find me. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off.
I ain't a hard guy to find. I promise you that shit.
Listen to the words. Garbage, a joke, clown acts, pisses me off. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about, like this one right here. Hey, I don't know if y'all know this. In fact, I guarantee y'all don't know this because y'all don't really be talking to or listening to a bunch of NCAA haters such as myself all the time. But hey, the NCAA is actively, like currently right now, on their knees, begging, pleading, like mercy to God right now in the halls of Congress. I don't know if y'all know that, but the NCAA essentially, let me try to break it down for you. The NCAA essentially contends that like this NIL window that they kind of opened this whole idea to Pandora's box, this thing that they introduced to the world and just let out all this nonsense, and not necessarily nonsense, but this idea to them that's nonsensical of players being paid, like that's insane. Anyways, they open this door to these players and athletes with regard to compensation, and the NCAA basically contends like, hey, that's the only one we need to be opening. Like y'all don't be crazy out here. We like this current structure where like the schools have to control it, and it's not really supposed to be the schools. It's supposed to be the boosters that are really hiding behind these collective things. We really, really like this current structure. We don't need to get anywhere outside of this. That's a lot of words. What are we really talking about? What is the NCAA actually doing at Congress? What is their actual structure? And why do they love it so much? Well, first of all, why wouldn't they love it, right? They don't have to share revenue under the current model, right? All the TV revenue, all the tickets, all the sales, all the money that is college sports, revenue-producing sports, mostly in particular. There is no idea of sharing the revenue with the employees, with the labor, right? No labor force there. Other than outside of, basic food on campus. Actually, you get to eat a little bit more at the food troughs on campus, and you get a scholarship. That's great. That's the only form of compensation that these schools obviously have to give to athletes around their campuses, right? They don't have to share these revenues. So what are they scared of? Well, this NIL window that they opened up, believe it or not, has basically thrown them into lawsuits and questions about whether or not they have a structure of unfair labor force, which there's no real question. Congress has essentially already told them, yeah, like what y'all doing right now, by the letter of the law in this country, not really legal. Y'all not really allowed to have free labor forces. Y'all not really allowed to be out here making billions of dollars, which is expanding even more under the college football 12-team playoff. You're not really allowed to be out here making all this bread in America without paying people. Like y'all are the only folks out here that really get to do it. And that's fitting to come to an end. So right now, actively, the NCAA, the NCAA, whose sole purpose and like creation was literally just to be there to hand out trophies, to establish some type of organization around college sports. That's their only sole purpose originally when they were created. Now they are on the halls of Congress begging and pleading for young people not to make any of that money. That's wild to me. I don't know if that's wild to y'all, but that is wild to me that this entity that was just created to provide some type of structure has now let the structure run amok, okay, and turned around and said, hey, we really not about to have to pay these folks, right? Nah, Congress is about to make it happen. And what that means is eventually there's going to be some portion of revenue splits for players. And it's really only going to impact revenue-producing sports. And I don't think it's going to impact Title IX. There's much smarter people in the world figuring all this stuff out. But nonetheless, I think it's kind of cool that, well, not cool, it's kind of messed up that entity is the one begging for help to keep the labor force free. But nonetheless, I think it's kind of funny that the NCAA has spent what is equivalent of about a year and a half now being like, yo, please, can y'all keep letting us not pay these folks? And Congress is like, nah, nah, you're going to have to break out that checkbook, fam. And they're going to have to. And that's fun. That's good for all involved. I don't know how it's going to work across the landscape of college sports. That's not my job. That's somebody else's job who makes a whole hell of a lot more money than I do doing what I do. Great to have you guys in. Happy, Thursday for you. It's day 3 for us on the channel in terms of content. Been telling you all off season, we are going to ramp up. We're going to continue to bring you high quality content, and I hope you support it by just hitting that thumbs up button and firing off in that chat. We got an interesting thing going on tonight where we got a hybrid NBR and Q&A. Normally we give you one or the other. Tonight we're going to give you both, allow you guys to get in on the action with question and answer. And here's how this is going to work. In between each one of these segments, if you've been here on NBR, we go about 10, 15 minutes on each little rant. In between each one, we're going to take a load of, audience member questions, get those rattled off. If you could, please, for me, hit them, or you just end them with a question mark so we don't miss them and we get them, knocked out really quickly during those, in between those breaks on those, NBR segments. And as well, as always, super subs get first priority. So if you want to hop in there and give out some free subscriptions, that would be awesome. We appreciate you for doing that. Got a loaded show for you. We're going to go through the position groups, as you can tell on the title of tonight's show. We're going to go through the position groups that I think are most impacted by the offensive coordinator change in Athens. Obviously, Monking Out, Bobo in. We've done a slew load of content on that on this channel. If you haven't checked it out, feel free to do so, including Backstreet Street Boys. They gave their spin on it just a while ago here on the network. We're also going to take a look at the SEC Media Days and teach our boy Greg Sankey a little bit about marketing. Not that I'm trying to do his job or, run for his job or do anything that results to his job, but hey, I think I can teach a little something about keeping the people happy and keeping them a little excited, or getting them rather excited about SEC Media Day instead of just trying to sprinkle in the big names. Let's build up. Let's market that thing properly. We're going to talk about that. It's also my only way to make that segment reasonable. We're running out. Anyways, and of course, again, sprinkled in, we're going to do your Q&As. And I'm going to introduce a new segment called A Look Around. All right, we're going to be here all off season. And I know you guys love Georgia football. I know y'all do. And that's great. But we can only talk about Georgia football so much. So we're going to take a look around. Not only give our kind of rundown and team check-in, rather, like a checkup, if you will, with each individual team around the conference at some point this offseason, but we'll cover the news as well every Thursday during the week of these shows, just to kind of give you the rundown of what's going on around the SEC. Tonight's look will feature an SEC East football team that, as usual, for the second consecutive year, will be getting uber hyped up this offseason by the national media and correspondents alike. So super happy for you guys to be here. Again, make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you're not already, subscribe over to Patreon, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. I'm going to do some type of film study, I would imagine, tomorrow for those guys and gals, if I manage to find the time. Got some stuff going on tomorrow and this weekend. And Monday, we should have a pretty big guest. When I say guest, I mean like the number one player in America in his class. So y'all should be here Monday. Just put it on your calendars. Or Monday night, 9 o'clock, you're going to come holler at your boy, because we're going to have a dude on that show with us Monday night. Hopefully all things go through there. So excited for you guys to be here tonight. Again, hit that thumbs up button as usual. Let's break off tonight's show with our first topic of the night, which of course is the title. Happens to be which position groups are most impacted by the offensive coordinator change. I think the obvious starting place, right, is the quarterback position. And no, not because terminology is changing or, calls are changing or the system is changing. All that is to remain the same per everything we've been told and per everything we've reported. So you don't have to worry about, hey, is there a change in terminology? Is there a change in system? Are they going to, have to learn anything new? Does that level the playing field for it? No. They're running the same exact system. He's going to put his own little spin on things, add in some wrinkles, as most new coordinators in a new system would do. At least a system that they are being asked to maintain and just add on, right? You got a nice, brand new 2023 F-150, whatever y'all drive. I'm a Tundra guy. You got a brand new 2023 Toyota Tundra, 1754 edition, whatever, 1974, the nice edition, all right? And that thing riding. All right, so don't go in there and put fancy rims on it. Just don't run it off the road. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So That doesn't necessarily change for these quarterbacks. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't impact them that much. However, your sounding board definitely changes, obviously changes, right? The voice in the room changes. Not only the voice in the room, but that little voice in your head when the bullets start flying. If you've ever played football at a high level, right? And you're going through Monday film sessions, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. By the time game time rolls around Saturday, you are seeing things. Things are happening in front of you. Voices are coming through your head that remind you of the week of preparation. It would be no different than, I don't know about you guys, but when I was taking a test in high school or in school at all, I would almost visually, like photographically remember the exact moment and location that I studying to remember the tidbit that was coming to that question. That's how my mind works, right? You read the question, you get the question put out in front of you, you get the problem put out in front of you, you get the play put out in front of you, and your mind immediately runs back to, this is what I practiced. This is what I studied. This is what I was taught. This is what I've heard. Same thing happens on a football field, especially for a quarterback. You're going through your reads, you see a defense pre-snap. Coach said this week. Coach said, if that safety does that, we do this. You're hearing it in his voice. So your soundboard has 100% changed in terms of the voices you hear on a day-to-day basis, the voices you rely upon when the bullets start actually firing. Additionally, your soundboard, if you will, from we're going to bounce ideas off of one another, has certainly changed as well. To an extent. What do I mean by that from an extent standpoint? Obviously, you don't know by now, Mike Bobo is, his family, they are quarterback people. He was a quarterback in and of himself. His dad was his own quarterback coach. They are quarterback people through and through, have been for decades now. I find it a little bit naive to not believe that Mike Bobo was in those quarterbacks' ears last year. And I know there's rules about analysts, and I know that, he was not technically listed as a quarterback coach. I know all that fugazi, nonsensical rules in college football that no one is following. Newsflash. Ain't nobody following them rules. All right? Nobody. They all got thousands of analysts everywhere. They're all somehow involved in practice. If you think they don't have every eyes and hands and feet and whistles on that football field, you're out of your mind. Anyways, back to the discussion. He's definitely been in the room. He's definitely helped out, right? The voice hasn't changed that much from a quarterback's perspective. And again, he's a quarterback's guy. I would imagine there's been some meetings in years prior this past year where Mike Bobo's on campus in the facility. Stetson Bennett walks through. Hey, Mike, what do you like this week? Hey, Stetson, what do you like this week? Those conversations have been happening. I would imagine. I would guarantee those have been happening. So it's not that much of a change. They are very, very familiar with this individual. The other position group that I feel like obviously changes is the running back room. I said Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday when the news broke and we did our live shows and all that good stuff. We did almost an hour and a half on Bobo and Monken, the kind of transition and all these good things. I said Tuesday, I don't remember the last time Georgia consistently put together explosive runs, like big breakers. And I could only recall the Bobo era, that like 2007 to 2014 stretch. Not only did they have great backs, but they put up numbers. They put up explosive runs. They put up, oh my God, that guy didn't get touched. Oh my God, Gurley didn't get touched. Oh my God, Chubb didn't get touched. Oh my God, so-and-so, no Sean Marino, so-and-so didn't get touched, right? Just gaping holes in the run game, despite what we told you last week or earlier in the week, not having a tremendous success on the recruiting trail from an offensive line perspective. Georgia's offensive lines have not been like this since about 2017, about 2018, when Sam Pittman started getting in and they started recruiting 5-star to 5-star to 5-star, top 50, top 25, top 100 players over and over and over again, where the fourth best tackle in the class is Chad Lindbergh, and he's the 13th overall ranked player in the country at that position and never steps foot on the field. Chad Lindbergh would have started 3 years in the mid-2000s when Mike Bobo was the offensive coordinator here. Now he's got all these dudes. So I say that to say that the running back group is going to explode. Jonathan Williams put out a great tweet today. And again, if you're not following at Dr_J Will, I believe is what it is. If you're not following Jonathan Williams on Twitter, you're missing out. He puts nuggets like this out every single day. Okay. This is become his job. This is what he does, and he does it better than anybody in the space, in my opinion. Okay. Yes, I'm biased. He does work with us. Over the past 14 seasons, UGA offenses have finished inside the top 5 in the number of 40-yard plus plays just once. It was in 2012 under Mike Bobo as offensive coordinator when UGA had the second most plays of such in college football, with 28 plays of 40-plus yards or more and 15 plays of at least 50 yards of more. Okay? But that was just as the offense. Break down the run splits. Okay? If you look at the run splits, the running backs accounted for 9 of those 28 40-yard gainers and 5 of those 50-yard gainers. In one season, they had 16 plays that just poof. And how do you do that? How do you do that in the run game? Because it ain't just great backs. I'm here to tell you, DeAndre Swift's a great back. He's got like one of those, and it's the Auburn game. And y'all remember it because it was one of those, and it was his freshman year. He doesn't have a ton of them. His biggest highlight at the University of Georgia, in my opinion, was him jumping over a Notre Dame defender. That was like a 6-yard run. He didn't have a bunch of these during his career. Okay, all the backs that they've had recently, they don't have a bunch of these. They don't have a bunch of 45-yard gainers, 50-yard gainers, just absolutely breaking out and getting after it, especially on a consistent basis. 16 in 1 year? Man, I got to go back a couple years before I can even remember a 50-plus yard run from the University of Georgia that sticks out in my mind. Not a garbage time touchdown, not none of that. I'm talking about, damn, that dude, the safety wasn't even in the picture. The last one I remember is Kenny McIntosh, and your offensive coordinator dialed it up. But here's what I'm trying to tell you. I fully believe that every single time you guys did, damn, like that wide receiver was wide ass open. How did that guy get that open? Damn, Lad McConkey was wide open. My God, how did so-and-so just streaking down the field? How did he get that wide open under Monken? Every single time he did that, and y'all saw that, I guarantee you Mike Bobo will have just as many of those in the run game as Monken had in the passing game. You will turn on tape next year. We will turn on tape here next year. We will watch games on Saturday next year, and you will look at your TV or you will look in person and go, holy hell, that running back didn't have anybody within 5 yards of his bubble for until he got to 7 yards past the line of scrimmage, until he got to 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. Hell, that hole was so wide open that the safety couldn't even get an angle on him, and he took it 65 yards. The way Mike Bobo manipulates with motions with purpose, designs run gap fits, designs run schemes, run meshes, all that good stuff. The way he is able to design offense, it will enhance Georgia's run game probably at a rate you haven't seen in years past. Okay? Do not forget those questions. The second group that I think is going to be impacted the most, or the third group, is the offensive line. If the running back group is going to be impacted, obviously the offensive line group is. But I think this group would have been altered and changed no matter what, and here's why. Man, Xavier Truss coming back with basically a year and a half of starts. Cedric Van Pran coming back with 2 full seasons of starts. And Tate Ratledge coming back with what is essentially a year and a half of starts in play. They are going to do so much from a schematical standpoint of, freedom. I would imagine based off Bobo's history and Searles' combination of allowing smart players and athletic offensive linemen to do basically not what they want, but what they need to do to accomplish things. I don't think Georgia and they haven't been doing this in the last year or so, but I don't think you see Georgia line up and try to bully you anymore. They can do that. They will do that on short yardage plays when they need to. When they need to punch you in the mouth and insert their will, they absolutely will. But the idea of fold blocks and being able to pull guys whenever we need to, or Tate saying, hey, I like my odds of down blocking on that guy, Cedric, and you pulling and inserting into front side B gap and taking the mic on that way. I like our chances of doing that much better than actually comboing up here. So let's just do it. And Bobo and Searles will probably be like, yeah, y'all do what you want. Because here's what happens when you start to play, not only for a long time, but play together for a long time. Not only do you get much better, but your coaches start to trust you on a much higher level, a far much higher level. I saw clips today of Nolan Smith, and he's just diving into B gap, stuff that defensive ends aren't supposed to do. Well, he been afforded that freedom because he had proved through years and years and years and years and years that I know what I'm doing, so just trust me, coach, when I'm out there. This offensive line unit, these 3 guys in particular in the interior of this offensive line, they are going to have the ability and the freedom to basically do whatever they want this year. and they're going to execute at a really, really high rate, I believe. Not to mention the two guards, they're going to get their asses pushed all year. Dylan Fairchild is no joke. Micah Morris is no joke. Those are two NFL football players that are chasing the heels of Tate Ratledge and Xavier Truss. And guess what? Those two individuals know that. Listen to that interview that podcast we did with Rylan and Tate. Listen to the way Tate talks about Micah Morris and Dylan Fairchild. They are very aware of how talented those individuals are behind them. The left tackle position in Amarius Mims, I'm super excited to watch that guy kind of elevate his game, bring his game up to the level of a true first-round, like NFL draft pick style left tackle. I don't think he's as athletically freaky as Broderick Jones, but guess what? He's 3.5 inches taller, and he's that much longer and bigger. So there you go. He's as big as humans can possibly be playing left tackle, and I'm excited to watch him do it. And I'm excited to see what these two guys in particular, Bobo and Searles, can do with an offensive line unit, how creative they can truly get, how many different run looks they can provide a defense to make them have to fit. Because that is the problem, right? When I'm facing an offense that runs 9 different plays and, oh shit, they threw a 10th one in this week just for us, it makes it really, really hard to consistently fit my gaps. All right, down in and down out to fit my gaps properly and read blocks properly and see what's happening in front of me properly. All right, it's really, really hard as the more in-depth that run scheme gets. And I believe this year, Georgia will probably have one of the more in-depth run schemes in college football. Let's get to Q&A. I mean, let's absolutely rattle them off. I don't see too many in here. We said super subs first. Let's get it. I mean, Robert's always here for us. He says, what position battle is going to be the hottest come spring camp? I've already kind of teased it. I think it's going to be that interior guard play, not because I think those two young guys are going to beat out Xavier Truss or Tate Ratledge. I just think they're that good of football players, and that tells you how good the guys in front of them are as well. But, dude, because I know the guys in the room, that cornerback room, that opposite of Kamari Lassiter question, that's going to be a war. It's got war daddies in it. I mean, when I think of a war daddy at the cornerback position, I think of A.J. Harris. That's a dog. I mean, he is a competitive freak. And not one of these, oh, he hates losing at checkers type of competitive. No. This is a guy that eats, sleeps, breathes football and will die on that football field before he allows you to beat him on a consistent basis. So I like the idea of him being in that room as a true freshman. And, of course, I don't know why I'm completely forgetting his name. Number 6, Dalen Everett. Dalen Everett and Nyland Green are two immensely talented football players. I think of all of them, Nyland is the most talented. Dalen Everett is the most combination of talent and knows the playbook, always in the right spot, never does anything wrong. A.J. Harris is a combination of talent and absolute freak of an athlete. Not necessarily freak an athlete, freak competitor. So I'm super excited to hear about the wars that are going on in that cornerback room come this spring. All right. Which running back is poised for the most success next year? This is a cop-out answer, but I think it's both. And here's why. If you study Bobo's history, if he's got 2 great backs, he uses 2 great backs. And he puts them on the field at the same time a lot, too. Auburn was a 21-base personnel football team for a good portion of that season. A good portion of that football game that we watched the other night on patreon.com/Brooks Austin that Bobo was calling was out of 21 personnel. If 2 of your best backs are 2 of your best players and 2 of your best playmakers, they're going to be on the field. And I think they're going to be on the field a good bit together next year because they're 2 diametrically opposed skill sets. Milton and Edwards are two different football players. But I don't think this OC change necessarily favors one or the other. Okay, Monken being in always favors the back that can do both. Always, right? It was always James Cook's show over Zamir White's show, right? James Cook was always the guy that you left thinking, damn, James had a good game today because they were designing winners for him. Kenny McIntosh literally was the first and only running back since Todd Gurley to put up over 500 yards rushing and receiving. He always prefers the both, but Bobo prefers the running back. That is you are trading, I think you're trading about 10% of your passing game for a 10% upgrade in your rushing attack. That's my honest opinion of what I've evaluated over these 2 guys. Here we go. Is there a reason some UGA players who have made it to the NFL do not claim Georgia on their NFL profiles, but instead use a town or a high school? Lynn, I don't think there's anything to like look into that. I'll be honest with you though. When Quay Walker is on national television, I've been to Crisp County, Georgia. I've been to Crisp County High School. Crisp County High School could use that shout out a whole hell of a lot more than the University of Georgia. You follow me? I think that might be the mindset and the thought process of these guys who make it to the league. Hey, let me give a shout out to Mallard Creek if I'm Jordan Davis, right? Let me give a shout out to Hateville Charter when I'm Chris Smith and I make the league. That kind of thing. Like Hateville Charter definitely needs a shout out, right? They are a really, really good football program that not a lot of people know about because they live in this Metro Atlanta football that, I mean, we all talk about greater Atlanta football. We all talk about Gwinnett County football. We all talk about Cobb County football. Y'all know North Cobb. Y'all know Buford. Y'all know Marietta. Y'all know Grayson High School. Y'all know all these schools. You don't know Crisp County. You only know Crisp County because of Quay Walker. So when Quay Walker's in the NFL, give him a shout out. Give him a shout out. All right, let's see here. With Chris Smith gone, who you got as safety? David Daniel Sisavon. I hope his pops is watching tonight. He's going to be so proud. I hope his mom's watching tonight so she knows I pronounced that correctly and I added it on. I get text messages every once in a while from parents. Hey, you didn't do this right. Hey, you didn't do that right. I get DMs. Hey, come on now. Fix this. So David Daniel Sisavon will get the start in spring practice. However, Jonel Aguero is a dude. Bonafide stamped. Going to be one. Okay. I don't like this angle because it chops the chin. Rule number one in broadcasting school, or not in broadcasting school, this is actually whatever you call filmography with the videographies. Don't chop the chin. We can chop the forehead. Don't chop the chin. So, yeah, here we go. Christian Gokel's question. Let's get to this, and then we'll go on to our next segment. Y'all feel free to rattle them off. Anything to smart hiring old Georgia players, one of the most successful coaching jobs in the sport, has to help to be around people you like. It's not just like getting coaches that used to play with him. He's recruiting the hell out of players that's dads played with him. Lawson Lucky, his dad's one of the Lucky triplets, played with Kirby Smart. Deuce Robinson, Kirby Smart coached his dad, I believe, with the Miami Dolphins, like in 2006. Y'all know the ties with Mike Bobo and Stacey Searles at Georgia and Will Muschamp, obviously, with Kirby and all these guys. Glenn Schumann's ties back to Alabama. But, yeah, it's rolling over in the players and the recruits as well. Pierce Spurlin's dad, I believe, was a fraternity brother of Kirby Smart's. So, like, there are connections and ties all up and down the roster. I mean, hell, there are multiple. There's a Bobo on the roster. You know, Drew Bobo's on the roster. Jackson Muschamp, shouts out to QB1, is on the roster. That's a Discord joke. If you're not there, you don't get it. If you're not there, you should be. Patreon.com/Brooks Austin. So, there's definitely something to Kirby Smart, like putting people around the program who are Georgia people. And I think that provides a level of consistency and that provides a level of trust and love around that building. All right. So I don't know if y'all know, but SEC Media Days were announced today. Monday, LSU, Mizzou, and TAMU. I'm a TAMU guy. That stands for Texas A&M. Tuesday, Auburn, Georgia, Mississippi State, and Vandy. Wednesday, Bama, Arkansas, Florida, and Kentucky. And then Thursday, rounding it out with Lane Kiffin, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And this got me thinking today, A, how in the hell am I going to talk about this on tonight's show and make this some kind of interesting? And B, got me thinking about B, which card, if you will, if we were to look at this list of coaches in SEC Media Day as if it were a UFC fight or UFC main card, how would we stack this to make it the most marketable as possible? Because right now, I just see some sprinkled in nonsense. And yeah, we're going to have to go. We're going to cover. We're going to get a lot of content out of it. Kirby Smart's going to bring us some new quote about some philosopher that he was reading this summer on the lake when he only took 3 days off. We're going to get all that good stuff. But it got me thinking, like, let's actually do this right. Let's put this schedule together to where the people are just, I mean, ramped up, they peak, and then they're ready to just be carried off into the distance and into the football season the right way. So I'll revamp this for you, Greg. If you're listening to me, Mr. Sankey, my price is probably a little bit higher than you think, but I wouldn't be opposed to being your assistant. I've seen you all the time. We make decent eye contact. I wouldn't call it awkward. I would definitely call it, I don't know how to introduce myself to you, but I've seen you multiple times, brother. Let me help you out here. Here we go. Monday. Let's start this puppy off right. Let's get the people going. Not too much now. Okay, we got to tease them, but we don't quite yet want to please them, right? We just want to give them a little bit, give them a little taste, right? Give them a little free sample, make them come back, get that dope the next day, right? All right, so what we're going to do here, we're going to open up with Mizzou, then we're going to go to Vandy, and we're going to go to Kentucky. Because here's why. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think Eli Drinkwitz is actually a really decent quote. And I know one thing about Eli based off the last couple of years of watching him. First of all, holy hell, that extension out of nowhere. Second of all, the dude will talk shit. He'll get up there. He'll shoot up. He will not shoot down. He will shoot up. He will pick somebody in his speech, and he will take a jab. He will shoot up at the competition. So we're going to let Drink start off. We're going to let him get the juices flowing. And again, I don't think he's a bad quote. On the mic, he's not terrible. If you told me he had to go into TV, I might watch. Wouldn't subscribe like you should tonight, but I would definitely watch. So we're going to start off with Drink. Then I'm going to be honest with you, Clark Lee, listen to me, baby. Whatever you think your speech needs to be, cut that sumbitch in half this year. I mean, in half. Last year, he had the longest speech. The year before, his first year, even longer. I'm talking about 35-minute sermons. Clark, you have very much so I make my bed every single morning energy. I don't need you to thrust it upon me for 35 minutes. Just give me like 20 in and out. But nonetheless, we got to get you out early just to make sure, hey, we can't have Clark snoozing us up midway through the week. So, Clark, get it up out the way after Drink sets us off. And finally, we will wrap out day one. Who am I wrapping out day one with? With Kentucky. Look, Mark Stoops, I ain't gonna lie to you. I think Mark Stoops is a good football coach. That boy a snoozer in front of a camera and on a microphone. So we're going to let him just cast us off day one. You know, tuck us in with that lullaby energy that he's got. You know, that lullaby energy on the podium be putting me to sleep. So put us to sleep on day one with Mark. Now, Tuesday's important that we get it popping at the SEC Media Days, but not jumping. All right, I want nice house music. I want some head bopping going on. Maybe Jonathan over in the corner finds his home. You know, maybe Tyler adds in a little bit of one of these. Right? I don't want it crazy. I want it popping, not jumping. No loud subwoofers. We don't have to get into the R&B yet. We're just chilling on day two here on Tuesday, excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with Arkansas, Florida, South Carolina, and Texas A&M. We will call this the, and I quote, I swear we might win 10 games this year group of teams. Except for Florida. Florida, you're the bathroom break here, right? I mean, Arkansas, South Carolina, TAMU, you can't find me a member of their fan base that don't swear they got at least 10 wins on the schedule. So that's that. And then Florida, again, we got a ways. Just go use the bathroom. Right? Pretty sure Graham Mertz tore his ACL again. Or no, it's the dude from Utah. Anyways, Graham Mertz, starting quarterback. Tough way to go. So Tuesday, kind of a we might see about you kind of day on Tuesday. And then Wednesday. This is what we call the Boosie Badass Day because we finna set it off. I mean, we are absolutely finna set it off on Wednesday. This is what the people came for. And this is what the segment is about. I cannot believe for this many years, Greg Sankey has missed out on this opportunity. This opportunity right here, which is to obviously start off with Tennessee. You got to start Wednesday off with a banger, bring out Tennessee and tell them, hey, you're starting the main card, but here's the deal. You have to, by contract, by law, take a jab at Alabama in there. You know, we're in the home stay here in Tennessee. Shouts out to Nashville. You know, sorry Alabama had to come up here and reminisce about that ass whooping they got back in November, something like that. All right, it's just, I mean, maybe it don't have to be that heavy-handed, but something subliminal and nice. Just work it in, take a little jab at Alabama, then get on with your business. Then after Heupel, I want Lane Kiffin to follow up because why not? You know, Tennessee, Lane Kiffin, right after one another. And, you know, maybe he'll roll off that Heupel energy of taking shots at Bama and nothing better than watching Lane Kiffin cook on Nick Saban, whether it be in social media or in front of that podium. So let's definitely get that. Let's get Tennessee, Lane Kiffin, and then boom, we're going to smack him with that two-time champ, Kirby Smart, right before we go to Nick Saban. And here's why. I don't hate Nick Saban. I actually like Nick Saban. I find Nick Saban to be rather fun to watch at a podium. But the best Nick Saban is a nice, perturbed, cantankerous Nick Saban. So what would piss him off more than have to sit all day long and listen to Heupel talk his shit, Lane Kiffin do his thing, Kirby Smart, the protege that's on top of the football world, right in front of him, and then he got to go out to the podium. boy, you talking about some quotes. You talking about some I'm tired and I'm not wanting to be here type of energy. Dude, it would be the best television of all time. We're missing out on it. All right, and then Thursday, we'll call this the You Can Go Home Now crew. This is the noisemaker in your child's bedroom, though. That's what this is, right? We got LSU, Mississippi State, and Auburn left. Just come for Brian Kelly. He might say family weird. Come meet Zach Arnett, the new head coach of Mississippi State, and then Hugh Freeze can awkwardly pray us out. I thank you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes one of the silliest segments I think we've done on NBR quite some time. That is my pitch to Greg Sankey on how to actually make the SEC Media Days like super eventful. Again, we're just peaking on Wednesday, just to the rate of which you've never seen at SEC Media Days. Instead, we get a whole bunch of hodgepodge of show up one day for one good quote and one good interview and one good press conference, and then suffer through the other three and come back tomorrow. Just, Greg, do me a favor. Ramp this puppy up next year. Stack them like you're supposed to, like anybody else would. Time spent listening is an important thing. Time spent watching is an important thing. You want everyone to show up every single day. That's fine. Build up to a crescendo because they're going to be there no matter what. Because right now, you're just betting on them being there no matter what. What a useless segment. Let's knock out some more Q&A. Jamie Goodman has a question. We always hit Jamie Goodman's questions, even though he didn't follow protocol and put a question mark on it. I have a question. If we make a defensive GA or analyst call offensive plays in Jacksonville this year, would we still beat them Florida by 17 or 21? I don't know why I walked right into that. I don't know why. How did I not see that coming? Resident Gator hater, Jamie Goodman, getting in on the show. I love it. Willie Jr. asked, Starks played field safety. Who will play strong safety? That's incorrect. They played left and right safety last year. Not to do that with you. And also, I would say Starks played more of a box safety, if anything, as opposed to a field or boundary safety last year. And what do I mean by that? Well, anytime they went single high, they put Chris in the single high and they put Malachi in the box or around the box or in man coverage. So Georgia is a left and right safety playing football team. That's what they want to be. They have not been a field and boundary safety football team since Lewis Seen and Chris Smith's first year starting together. So that's a little history lesson on the safety position. To answer your question about Starks, I think they use Starks in a very, very similar way as they did a year ago, which is anytime we have a tight end that we feel is a threat, you will guard him. Anytime on third and long, you will play the Tampa 2 mid-hole, and you will put your shoulders and chest and eyes on the quarterback, and you will find the football. Other than that, we will uniquely use your ability to play press man-man to blitz our nickel and blitz our star and blitz our front side safety and do all that good stuff. Malachi Starks' ability to play man coverage at an elite level has opened avenues of Georgia's defense that probably weren't there in years past because Richard LeCount couldn't guard or couldn't cover to a rate like this. Lewis Seen couldn't cover and guard at a rate like this. J.R. Reed couldn't cover and guard at a rate like this. So his ability to play man-to-man defense has changed the defense to an extent, but they are still, for the most part, a left and right safety playing football team. Let's hit Crystal Chrissy's question right here. I love that we have a female presence in the show tonight. I've seen Lynn's question, and now we're hitting Christy. Shouts out to the ladies tonight. Do you think we will take a step back or will we be better? I've read so many articles on the changes. I don't know what to believe. Well, you had overhaul last year like never before seen really in college football. At least, there's been other teams to lose more talent or lose more starters or lose more playing time or playing time diminished or playing time departed. But at a rate at which like 15 NFL draft picks hadn't happened, not since I think Miami and Florida State. I think it was 8 defensive players. That hadn't happened in a long time in the NFL draft. So last year you had to replace more. You had to replace just as many coordinators last year. You had to replace more starters defensively. You didn't have to replace a quarterback, which is the change here. And you didn't have to replace both a quarterback and an offensive coordinator. So are you going to be better than the 2-time defending national champion? I don't know. But do you have to be? I don't think so. When I look around the landscape of college football, and it's still really, really, really early, but who is a complete team right now on paper? There isn't one. There is a bunch of questions around college football. A bunch of questions. Clemson's working in a new offensive coordinator. Ohio State's got to find a quarterback. Georgia's got a new offensive coordinator. Alabama's got 2 different coordinators. USC, a whole bunch of defensive holes. There are a bunch of programs that think they're on the precipice of competing for a national title that have a bunch of holes on their football team. So I don't think it's too much to worry about at this point in the season. Everyone's got changes. Everyone's got holes. Everyone's got things that they got to get through. How you manage that's on the shoulders of your head coach. Is there any truth to the rumor that Brenton Cox has just left Florida? Also a Discord joke. How many of those we get Brooks to read tonight? What kind of wide receiver packages will we be trotting out with the depth and talent that we have? So obviously, I've said this multiple times on this platform this week. I think you're going to be an 11 personnel football team moving forward. Despite the fact that Bobo has a history of being a 12 team, you don't have 12 personnel. I've said it over and over and over and over and over and over again. You don't have an attached tight end on the roster right now. That's okay. You haven't really recruited one other than Pierce Sperlin, who projects to be one. He's not one currently. So you're going to change into more of a spread with an H-back football team, I think, anyways. I think it's what we see. A lot more 3-by-1, a lot more what you guys probably think are spread sets, but they're just spread from an alignment standpoint to get the numbers in the box that they like. All right, that was the last question. What else we got? We have our look around segment to knock out tonight. What is look around? Well, as we told you at the start of the show, first of all, got a whole bunch of new people here I'm seeing. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button if you are not already. We are going to be here, right here on this YouTube channel, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, all off season. All off season. Okay, we will be right here. All right. I mean, I know there's some trips to LA I got to take for the Elite 11. There's some trips. There's obviously SEC Media Days that we might be taking a trip to Nashville for. There are things that are going to be happening that will produce more content around this channel. They're not going to be me taking days off. There will be me finding new content elsewhere to bring you here. So I know there's a bunch of options in this space of YouTube. Stay right here. We got plenty of content for you this offseason, including additional content around the SEC. I'm not just a guy who wants to talk Georgia the rest of my life, despite the fact that you guys have been extremely nice and fruitful for one's business. But hey, let's look around. Let's look around the SEC. Let's take a look at some other programs. Let's give some opinions on some other programs. Let's maybe, develop an angry new fan base. Someone to call me fat and big-headed. Someone that isn't a Florida Gator fan. Someone who is a South Carolina Gamecock fan. Let's attack them right now. Not necessarily attack them, but let's talk about it, right? Let's just go through the overlook, right? Because if you thought South Carolina had buzz last year, like coming into the season, then there was like multiple SEC writers that picked South Carolina to win the SEC East last year. So if you thought they was getting hyped up last year, just wait. I mean, just wait for what's going to happen this year. It's their third year under Shane Beamer, and I'm a firm believer in what I would call the 3-year rule. Within 3 years of you taking over a college football program, I bet I know who you are. I bet I know who you're going to be at that program. If you haven't won at the rate that you're supposed to, or that there is the ceiling of your program, which for a program like South Carolina is 10 or 11 wins, that is the ceiling. That is what it looks like. Okay. Honest to God, Gamecock fans would probably tell you that as well. I mean, they would kill for a 10-win season at this rate. So if that is the pinnacle of what your success looks like, if you don't reach that thing by year 3, or if you don't show signs of maybe being there by year 3, it just probably ain't going to happen. There's not a lot of success stories in college football that started with, oh, yeah, coach really got it turned around year 4 or 5. Coach really started cooking around year 4 or 5. Mark Richt, year 2. Kirby Smart, year 2. Nick Saban, year 2. Lincoln Riley, year 1. Ryan Day, year 1. Dabo Swinney, year 2. Right? Like all of these coaches that are showing signs of sticking at their program for a decade, like that, homie. I mean, like as soon as possible, turn around. The only one that kind of defies this logic is Mel Tucker. I don't know. He struck gold once. We're going to have to find out. But nonetheless, we are going to find out whether or not Shane Beamer is a guy. And I firmly believe to this point, he looks like one. He shows all the signs of one. And guess what? His football team does too. They played their last 3 football games like a top 10 program. They did. They beat the dog water out of UT at home. I mean, wrecked the season and did so at a 25-point win that would make your head spin. That game was over midway through the third quarter, and offense that had been stagnant for 3 weeks was freaking pouring it on at the end of that football game against Tennessee. And then they go on the road to Clemson in a highly, highly contested football game against a rival, and they win an absolute fist fight against the Clemson Tiger team, who's ranked number 7 in the country, and ruin their season. And then they go into a bowl game against a ranked opponent in Notre Dame who plays hard under Marcus Freeman. They took that sucker down to the wire and lost by just 7. This is, for a fact, a football program who closed the end of their season like a top 10 program. They returned their quarterback. They returned their top wide receiver. They returned a versatile running back in Juju McDowell that I really, really like. They bring in Dow Loggins, an NFL coordinator. We've seen the history of success of bringing in NFL guys that are respected on the professional ranks. Dow Loggins checks that box. All signs, every single sign points to year 3 under Shane Beamer being the year that South Carolina should reach their pinnacle, their peak of their program's potential, right? All signs point to it. But there's a couple of major, major problems. If you're a South Carolina fan, listen to this for some reason, okay? I go through your game logs from last year. I go through the schedule that was South Carolina's football season, and 2 of those games stick out like an absolute sore thumb. They stick out worse than I do in a Georgia media press box. They stick out like no other. One of them is a 13-point loss to a really, really bad Mizzou team at home, in which you rushed the football for a grand total of 32 yards and managed to turn it over twice. And the other one's a 22-point loss to an absolutely horrendous football team in Florida last year in a game in which you managed to muster up 42 yards of rushing yards on the ground, and you managed to turn it over 3 times. Look, here's the deal. I don't care how good your quarterback is. I don't care how good your weapons are. I don't care how good your football team is and your defense. If you cannot establish a C minus, a C plus running game in this Southeastern Conference, you will turn up 22-point losses to 7-5 football teams. You will turn up 13-point losses to barely bowl-eligible football teams because you can't run the football. This football team shows tendencies and signs of complete ineptitude in the running game. That's not good. That's going to lead to football games like this. Not to mention, there's another major, major problem for this football team, despite the fact that they will occasionally just be completely without. I mean, in the desert for a run game, all right? The other things they're scheduled this year. I don't know if you've looked at this. This is brutal. They have 4 ranked opponents on the schedule already. North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Clemson. Those are 4 really, really hard games to win. They start the season with North Carolina. They play 8 games against teams with which had a winning record a year ago. 8. It's like 75% of their schedule. It is 75% of their regular season schedule. All winning football teams. They played 9 bowl eligible teams from a year ago. They have arguably the hardest schedule in college football without a run game. And guess what? It ain't just going to like magically appear. The only way you establish a run game is to find dudes that can create holes. They recruit great skill players right now under Shane Beamer. They just landed their biggest offensive lineman, probably in Cam Pringle, in years at South Carolina. So things are turning. But I'm here to tell you that they are staring down the barrel of another 8-5 regular season, 7-6 regular season, because there will probably not be any consistency in their offense unless they establish a way to formulate a run game. But there is good news for South Carolina, and I know it doesn't really matter for Georgia fans, but despite how brutal the start of their schedule is, there is a stretch of games that are extremely, extremely winnable for this football team towards the end of the season. They play Florida, Missouri, Texas A&M, Jacksonville State, Vandy, and Kentucky in consecutive weeks. Those are 6 games that they can absolutely roll through, and then they finish the year with Clemson. So despite all the doom and gloom that I just ran on you, I think they can win 9 games this year. I think they maybe, if they handle their business, if Clemson's as bad as I think they might be able to win 10 games this year. So South Carolina, a decent to above average football program in the Southeast, and I actually do have some optimism towards them. Let's hit these super subs right quick. How much bunching will we see this year? Saw a lot with Monken. I don't know. You'll see a lot of motioning to bunches. I don't know if you're going to see a lot of lining up in trips. Ronald Ham trips bunch rather. Ronald Ham hit us with a super sub. I take that back for $50. So I think that's 50 and 20 and 10. That's 80 total. We have 8 free subs. Hit me up in that Gmail account, brooks7711@gmail.com. 8 free subs for you guys if you want them. Come get them. Otherwise, hit me up on Instagram. Let's see here. Any more questions? Jim Harbaugh and Dabo Swinney broke the 3-year rule. I guess that's true. With them, it was 7 years. Maybe to win it at like a top like 12 or a top 3 level. I'm talking about cracking that 10 wins. Like it takes 3 years for me to know whether or not you are a good football coach, in my opinion. I think in year 3 we knew Dabo Swinney was a good football coach. We just didn't know if Clemson was going to stop Clemsoning. You know what I mean? Here we go. Last couple of questions here, guys. Let's get them in. Brooks, do you remember Lou Holtz of South Carolina or even Spurrier? I definitely remember Spurrier of South Carolina. I do not remember Lou Holtz at South Carolina. No, I do not. I do a decent Lou Holtz. I've been working on it for a long time. Yeah, you should watch a lot of their college football show with Mark May. Used to watch a lot of it. Dr. Lou, yes, Dr. Lou. Yeah, big time Lou Holtz fan. All right, I think the Lou Holtz impersonation is going to be the end of our content schedule for the week. We have had a great week here on the channel. I hope you had a fun time listening to us, enjoying and laughing with us. It's been a good time. Appreciate you for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on the way out. We will see you Monday night. Patreon folks, I'll see you very, very soon. For Brooks Austin, for the Film Guy family, for patreon.com/Brooks Austin. I love you. We'll see you later. I killed that shit, folks. One of my best shows in a